Evan Calder froze the moment the sound came again. It was not part of the facility noise. Not the steady hum of power lines or the distant hiss of cooling systems. This was different. Soft. Uneven. Like something alive was struggling to breathe inside metal walls. He stood in the upper maintenance corridor of the xenobiology facility, holding a diagnostic tablet in one hand. The screen showed normal readings. Everything was supposed to be fine. But the sound came again. A slow inhale, then a broken exhale. Evan looked up. The ceiling above him was sealed with reinforced panels, locked tight for years. No one was supposed to be inside it. No systems, no animals, nothing. Yet the sound came from there. He took a step back, unsure if he should report it. New interns were warned, do not interfere with upper containment structures. Even asking about them could end your contract. But the breathing did not stop. It grew worse. Something heavy moved above the ceiling. A faint scraping sound followed, like claws dragging against metal. Evan's grip tightened on his tablet. His mind told him to leave. His body did not move. Then suddenly, a ceiling panel above him bulged inward. Metal groaned loudly. A thin crack split across the surface. Dust fell like rain. Evan's heart jumped. Before he could react, the panel snapped open halfway. Something small dropped through. It hit the floor with a sharp thud. Evan stepped back fast, almost falling. His breath caught in his throat. It was not human. It was a creature, small like a dog, but covered in dark, cracked scales that shimmered faintly under the corridor lights. One of its wings looked damaged, folded awkwardly against its side. Its body trembled as it tried to stand. A dragon. Not the myth kind from old Earth stories. This was real. Biological. Breathing. Bleeding. It lifted its head slowly. Its eyes met Evan's. For a second, neither moved. Then the creature made a sound. Not a roar. Not a threat. A broken, weak whimper. Evan felt something twist inside his chest. Fear was still there, sharp and cold, but something else pushed through it. The creature was not attacking. It was hiding. Then it turned its body and scrambled back toward the broken ceiling opening, dragging itself with desperate effort. Like it was terrified of being seen. But it did not escape fully. It stopped halfway. Its claws slipped on the metal edge. It hung there, struggling, shaking. Evan reacted before thinking. No, he whispered. He rushed forward and grabbed a maintenance ladder fixed to the wall. His training screamed at him to call security. But the creature's trembling sound kept echoing in his head. It was not dangerous. It was scared. He climbed fast, ignoring the warning lights on his tablet that began flashing red. The facility systems had noticed an anomaly now. Somewhere deep inside the building, silent alerts were being triggered. Evan reached the ceiling opening and pulled himself up into the narrow maintenance cavity. It was dark inside. Tight. Filled with cables, heat pipes, and old service lines no longer used. And there, barely a meter away, the dragon hatchling was pressed against the metal floor, trying to hide itself in the shadows. Up close, Evan saw the damage more clearly. Burn marks across its side. Small cuts that looked like injection points. Someone had done something to it. Not natural injuries. The hatchling noticed him again. It stopped moving. Evan raised his hands slowly, trying not to scare it. I'm not here to hurt you, he said softly. The creature flinched at his voice. But it did not run. Instead, it made a strange sound. Oh, almost like a vibration. Not a roar, but something deeper. It felt like it was trying to speak but could not form words. Then the facility lights below flickered. Evan paused. That should not happen. A second later, his tablet buzzed violently in his pocket. He pulled it out. A new file had appeared on the system. He had not opened it. The title was already there. Specimen 0, not registered. Evan's throat went dry. He looked back at the hatchling. It was staring at him now, perfectly still. And then, every light in the maintenance cavity shut off at once. Total darkness swallowed them both. In the silence, Evan heard it again. The breathing. But this time, it was not only from the creature in front of him. It was coming from deeper inside the ceiling. All around him. Multiple points. Slow. Awake. Something else was up there. And it had just noticed him. He did not move for a full second after the lights went out. Total darkness pressed against Evan Calder like a physical weight. Even the hum of the facility seemed to fade, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Then the sound returned. Not one breath this time. Several. Slow. Uneven. Coming from different directions inside the ceiling space. Evan's hand tightened against the cold metal floor beneath him. His mind screamed to retreat, to drop down the ladder, to report everything immediately. But something stopped him. The hatchling. It was still there, barely a meter away. He could hear its soft, painful breathing mixed with the others now. It was not alone anymore. Whatever those other presences were, they were connected. A faint glow suddenly flickered near Evan's right hand. He looked down. His tablet had turned itself back on. A warning blinked across the screen. Security breach detected, level 3 escalation. Then another line appeared beneath it. Unauthorized interference with containment systems. Evan swallowed hard. I didn't do anything, he whispered, even though there was no one to hear him. The hatchling made a low sound. Not fear this time. Something closer to warning. Evan slowly turned his head toward it. Even in the dim emergency glow from the tablet, he could see the creature had shifted closer to him. Not away. It was choosing him. Below them, distant mechanical sounds suddenly echoed through the facility. Heavy locks engaging. Doors sealing. The entire building reacting. Something had triggered a containment response. And Evan was inside the system now. A sharp vibration ran through the ceiling structure. Dust fell from above in thin streams. The hidden space around them was not stable anymore. Then a new sound joined the breathing. Metal scraping. Slow. Deliberate. Something was moving closer. Evan forced himself to stay calm. He had no weapons. No backup. Only maintenance access tools and a half-broken tablet that now seemed more like a liability than a device. He glanced at the hatchling again. Its eyes were fixed upward, not at him. It knew something was coming. Evan made a decision. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small emergency repair tool, a multi-use cutter. Not a weapon, but better than nothing. He activated its weak light and slowly lifted it toward the ceiling cavity. The hatchling flinched but did not retreat. Stay close, Evan whispered, unsure why he said it. A soft vibration passed through the walls again. Stronger this time. The cables around them trembled slightly. Then the facility's AI voice suddenly activated through hidden speakers. Controlled. Unauthorized presence detected in restricted service level. Evan froze. The hatchling reacted instantly, letting out a low, pained sound and pressing itself closer to the metal floor. The AI continued. All personnel must evacuate immediately. Containment priority, unknown bioentity. Evan's eyes widened. Unknown bioentity. Not singular. He looked up into the darkness above the ceiling again. There were more than one. The breathing grew clearer now. He could almost distinguish separate rhythms. Some slow and weak. Others heavier. Restless. Then something shifted directly above him. A shape moved across the metal surface. Slow. Dragging. Evan instinctively pulled the hatchling closer without thinking. His arm wrapped around it protectively before he even realized what he was doing. The creature did not resist. Instead, it trembled slightly and stayed still against him. That small reaction hit Evan harder than the danger itself. It trusted him. The ceiling above cracked softly. A thin line of light appeared through a seam, like something pressing from the other side. Then, a claw slid across the metal right above his head. Not breaking through. Testing. Measuring. Evan held his breath so tightly it hurt. The AI spoke again. Containment level increase initiated. The facility began to change. Below them, locking systems engaged with violent force. Echoes of sealed corridors shutting echoed through the building like gunfire. Air pressure shifted slightly, making Evan's ears ring. The hatchling suddenly reacted. It pushed itself away from him just enough to look upward again. And then Evan saw it. A faint glow pulsing from its chest. Not visible before. It reacted to something above. The ceiling responded immediately. A deeper, heavier scrape sounded, closer now, directly overhead. Something was focusing on them. Evan's instincts finally broke through hesitation. We have to move, he whispered. He carefully shifted toward the edge of the maintenance cavity, still holding the hatchling close enough so it wouldn't fall or panic. But the moment he moved, the hatchling stopped him. It made a sharp, vibrating sound. Not pain. Not fear. Warning. Evan froze again. The tablet in his hand suddenly flickered with a new file. It had opened by itself. A live feed. But it was not from cameras. It showed heat signatures inside the walls. Dozens of them. Scattered across the facility structure like sleeping stars. And one by one, they were waking up. Evan's breath stopped. The hatchling let out a faint, broken sound beside him. Almost like recognition. Then the ceiling above them split with a sharp metallic crack. Something was about to come through. And Evan realized the truth too late. They had never been alone in the ceiling. The ceiling above them did not just crack, it shifted. A long, deep metallic groan rolled through the maintenance cavity like the structure itself was waking up. Dust poured down in thin streams, and the cables around Evan Calder began to vibrate as if something massive was moving just above the metal skin. Evan did not breathe. The hatchling pressed itself tightly against his arm, trembling so hard he could feel it through his sleeve. Its faint chest glow pulsed faster now, matching the rhythm of whatever was moving overhead. Then without warning the live feed on Evan's tablet changed. The heat signatures multiplied. Dozens became hundreds. They were not random anymore. They formed a pattern. A grid. Like sleeping bodies arranged inside the walls of the entire facility. Evan's throat went dry. This can't be real. The facility AI responded instantly through the speakers, its voice sharper now, less controlled. Biomass anomaly confirmed. Containment level, maximum. A distant explosion echoed somewhere deep in the building. Not destruction, lockdown systems engaging at full force. Heavy doors sealing entire sections shut. The hatchling suddenly jerked. Not from fear. From recognition. It made a sharp, broken sound that vibrated through Evan's bones more than his ears. It was not a cry. It was a signal. Above them, something answered. A pulse. Oh, powerful. The entire ceiling rippled with it. Then a section of the metal above bulged inward violently. Evan instinctively pulled the hatchling closer and shifted backward, but there was nowhere to go. The maintenance cavity was a dead end. A thin line of light split open above them. Not natural light. Red emergency glow from inside the structure. And through that crack, Evan saw it. A claw. Not the small, trembling one from before. This one was larger. Hardened. Scaled like industrial armor. It pressed against the metal slowly, testing it with deliberate force. Then another claw joined it. And another. Evan realized with sudden horror that whatever was above them was not one creature. Was many. The hatchling made a soft sound beside him. Its glow flickered violently now, responding to something Evan could not understand. Then, for the first time, it did something unexpected. It moved forward. Away from Evan. Toward the crack. Evan grabbed it instantly. No, don't go there. But the creature did not resist his grip. Instead, it turned its head toward him, eyes wide and trembling. And something impossible happened. Not sound. Not words through air. But meaning. A fractured memory burst into Evan's mind like static. Cages. Bright white rooms. Painful light. Other hatchlings screaming without sound. A voice repeating commands in an unknown language. Then darkness. Then escape. And then. Evan's face. The memory ended. Evan staggered slightly, shocked. You're showing me this? The hatchling pressed its head gently against his wrist. A strange trust. Fragile but real. Above them the claws stopped moving. Silence fell for half a second. Then the facility AI spoke again, but now its tone had changed completely. Not warning. Not command. Observation. Subject interaction detected. Evan looked at the tablet again. A new file had opened by itself. Project, Luminous Vault. Below it, lines of classified data began unlocking one by one, as if something inside the system had just accepted him as an observer. Evan's eyes widened as he read fragments. Non-terrestrial cognition-based bioforms. Containment via environmental mimicry. Emotional resonance bonding required for stabilization. He stopped breathing. They're not prisoners, he whispered. They're experiments. A loud impact shook the ceiling. The crack widened. A sliver of the world above became visible. And through it, Evan saw something that made his stomach drop. Not just one dragon-like creature, but several. Different sizes. Different injuries. Some barely moving. All embedded in the ceiling structure above the facility like they had been grown into it, not placed there. One of them shifted its head slightly. And looked directly down at Evan. The connection was instant. A wave of emotion hit him. Pain, confusion, fear, and something else underneath it. Oh. The hatchling beside him let out a soft sound in response as if answering it. Then everything escalated at once. The facility AI triggered full lockdown protocol. All units prepare for biological reset. Red lights exploded across the structure. The air pressure dropped slightly. A distant mechanical countdown began echoing through unseen speakers. Evan's mind raced. Reset meant sterilization. Total purge. Everything alive in the containment system would be destroyed. Including the hatchling. Including everything in the walls. He looked at the creature in his arms. It was no longer just hiding. It was choosing. And it was choosing him. Another crack split open above them, wider this time. Dust and fragments of metal fell like rain. Through the opening, one of the larger creatures shifted again, struggling against unseen restraints buried in the structure. And then, it spoke. Not with sound, but with a direct pulse of meaning that slammed into Evan's mind. Do not let them finish the wake sequence. Evan staggered back. The tablet flashed violently. A new countdown appeared. 00:02:59. 00:02:58. The reset had already started. The hatchling suddenly pressed itself firmly against Evan's chest, its glow intensifying. It was ready for something. And Evan realized, whatever he chose in the next few minutes would decide not just this creature's life, but everything still sleeping inside the walls. The countdown on Evan's tablet kept falling. 00:02:31. 00:02:30. Each second felt heavier than the last, like the entire facility was slowly tightening its grip around him. Red emergency light pulsed through the maintenance cavity, painting the metal walls in sharp flashes of warning. The hatchling pressed against Evan's chest, its glow now steady and bright. Not random anymore. Controlled. As if it had made a decision. Above them, the cracked ceiling continued to widen. The creatures inside the structure were no longer just moving, they were reacting to the countdown. Every pulse of the system seemed to wake them further. Evan looked up through the broken metal seam. One of the larger dragon-like beings stared directly at him. Its eye was half covered in scars, yet still intelligent. Still aware. Another shifted beside it, restrained by thick metallic bindings embedded into the structure itself. They were not just trapped in the facility. They were part of it. And the facility was preparing to erase them. 00:02:01. Evan's breathing became sharp. No, I can't let this happen. The hatchling suddenly made a vibrating sound louder than before. The sound traveled through Evan's bones, not his ears. The meaning was immediate, urgent. A section of the ceiling exploded inward. Not outward destruction, controlled rupture. The facility AI was accelerating the collapse sequence. A chunk of metal dropped beside Evan, sparking violently. The maintenance cavity began to destabilize. Evan grabbed the hatchling tighter and forced himself to think. Panic would kill them both. He looked at the tablet. Systems were still partially accessible. Maintenance protocols. Manual override routes. But every option was locked behind higher clearance. Except one. Emergency structural bypass. A system never meant for interns. He hesitated only a fraction of a second. Then he tapped it. The tablet screamed with warning text. Unauthorized override attempt detected. A deep mechanical hum filled the entire facility in response. Somewhere far below, something massive shifted. The hatchling reacted instantly, its glow flaring brighter as if responding to the same system Evan had triggered. 00:01:32. The ceiling above them split wider. And then it happened. One of the bound creatures above moved violently, tearing against its restraints. The metal around it groaned under impossible strain. Evan saw it clearly now. Those restraints were not just physical. They were integrated into its body. Painful. Permanent. The creature locked eyes with him again. And the same pulse hit his mind. Not words this time. Emotion. Desperation. And Evan's hand shook. I don't even know how, he whispered. The hatchling suddenly pushed forward from his chest and climbed onto his arm. Its claws were light, careful. It turned its head toward the broken ceiling and emitted a sharp pulse. The facility responded immediately. A hidden panel inside the maintenance wall slid open. Inside was a manual override lever. Mechanical. Hidden behind layers of digital systems. A failsafe. Evan froze. If he pulled it, he could interrupt the reset sequence. But it might also trigger full facility collapse. No guarantees. No safety checks. Only consequence. 00:01:00. A loud metallic crack echoed through the structure. Another section above gave way, revealing more of the sleeping forms embedded in the walls. Dozens of eyes were now open, watching him, waiting. Evan stepped forward. His hand hovered over the lever. The hatchling made a soft sound beside him. Not fear this time. Trust. That small sound broke something inside him. He grabbed the lever. For a split second, everything went silent. Even the countdown seemed distant. Then Evan pulled it down. The facility reacted instantly. A deep, thunderous pulse surged through the walls. Lights flickered violently. The red emergency glow fractured into unstable flashes. 00:00:42. The reset sequence didn't stop. Fought back. Alarms turned into something deeper, no longer warnings but structural commands. The entire facility began to resist Evan's override. Above him, the bound creatures reacted violently. Chains tightened. Systems injected energy into restraints. The ceiling became a battlefield between survival and annihilation. And then, the hatchling screamed. Not sound. A pure energy pulse erupted from it, striking the ceiling above. The shockwave disrupted nearby restraints for half a second. That was enough. One of the larger creatures broke partially free. It fell forward through the broken ceiling, crashing into the maintenance space above Evan. The impact shook the entire structure. Evan stumbled back, shielding the hatchling. The creature was massive up close. Injured. Breathing heavily. But alive. Looked at Evan. And for the first time, the connection was not just mental. It was shared awareness. A network awakening. 00:00:15. The falling creature extended one claw toward the wall. It touched the structure. And the entire facility responded. Lights across the building flickered in sequence, like something inside the system had just been reprogrammed. Evan realized what was happening. They were not just escaping. They were synchronizing. The hatchling climbed higher on his arm, its glow now stable and powerful. And then it did something final. It turned its head toward Evan and pressed its forehead against his. A single pulse entered his mind. Together. The countdown hit. 00:00:03. The facility froze. Not stopped. Paused. Like something larger had taken control for just a moment. And in that silence, Evan saw it clearly. Every creature in the walls was now awake. Watching him. Waiting for his next decision. And the system was no longer fully under human control. The facility did not resume immediately after the pause. For one strange, suspended second, everything stayed frozen. Red lights hung in mid-pulse. Alarms lost their rhythm. Even the distant structural groans seemed to hold themselves back, like the entire building was waiting for permission to continue. Evan Calder stood in the maintenance cavity, breathing hard, the hatchling pressed tightly against his arm. Then the system moved again. 00:00:02. The countdown resumed but slower now. Hesitant. Like something inside the facility was no longer fully committed to the reset. Above him, the broken ceiling remained open. The massive creatures embedded in the structure were no longer just reacting. They were resisting. One by one, faint pulses of energy spread through the walls. Not destruction. Coordination. Evan felt it immediately through the hatchling. A shared awareness. Like a growing network of minds waking up at once. The hatchling shifted in his grip and looked up through the ceiling gap. Its glow steadied completely now. No fear left in it. Only focus. Then Evan saw something change on his tablet. The reset sequence was still active, but lines of code were being overwritten in real time. Not by the facility AI. By something else. The creatures. They were inside the system now. 00:01:21. A deep metallic sound rolled through the structure as multiple containment layers failed at once. Not explosion. Release. Sections of the ceiling tore open further. Two more dragon-like beings dropped into upper maintenance space, landing heavily but deliberately. They were injured but their movements were controlled. They were choosing where to fall. Choosing to converge on Evan. He stepped back instinctively, but the hatchling made a sharp vibrating sound. Not warning this time. Direction. Trust them. The first released creature locked its eyes on Evan. The connection hit instantly again, stronger than before. This time it was not just emotion. It was memory. Evan saw the facility's early days. Construction. Empty chambers. Then cages being installed. Then creatures being brought in one by one. Not random experimentation. A system. A design. The facility was never a research station. It was a containment cradle for something engineered to grow inside structure itself. 00:00:58. Evan staggered slightly. They built it into the walls. The hatchling pressed closer, confirming it without words. Above them, the ceiling split again. A larger section collapsed inward, revealing more bound bodies. Some weak, some barely conscious, all connected through embedded systems. Then something changed. The facility AI spoke again, but its voice was no longer stable. Reset override. Compromised. A second voice layered beneath it. Not AI. Something older in tone. Fragmented. Almost alive. Awakening node detected. Evan felt a chill. The system was no longer singular. It had split. The creatures were not just escaping. They were integrating into the facility's core intelligence. 00:00:30. One of the newly freed dragons lowered its head toward Evan. Slowly. Carefully. Then it did something unexpected. It touched the floor beside him and released a pulse. The entire maintenance grid responded. Lights across the structure shifted from red to unstable white. The reset sequence slowed further. Not stopped but resisted. Evan realized something terrifying and incredible at the same time. They did not need to destroy the facility. They were rewriting it from inside. The hatchling climbed fully onto Evan's shoulder now, stabilizing itself. Its glow synced with the others above. A shared rhythm formed across the entire structure. Then the largest visible creature above moved. It strained against the final restraints still holding it in place. Metal screamed under pressure. Sparks burst from embedded anchors. Evan felt its presence like a weight in his mind. Not pain. Leadership. It focused on him. And sent a single thought. Anchor us. Evan's heart pounded. Me? The hatchling pressed its head against his cheek. Confirmation. 00:00:12. The facility began collapsing internally, not physically but structurally. Systems were rewriting themselves too fast to stabilize. Entire sections of code were being replaced with new logic. The AI screamed again, but it was no longer coherent. Error, error, entity integration, unauthorized evolution. Evan grabbed the edge of the console beside him. His hands shook. I don't even know what I'm doing, he shouted. The hatchling responded instantly with a pulse of calm. Not explanation. Trust. 00:00:05. Evan closed his eyes for half a second. Then made his decision. He placed his hand on the maintenance interface and forced full system integration using his clearance override. Not to stop the creatures. Not to stop the facility. But to connect them. The moment he did, the entire structure went silent. 00:00:01. Everything stopped. No alarms. No movement. No sound. Then, a single pulse traveled through the facility like a heartbeat. The red emergency glow vanished. White light replaced it. And every creature embedded in the walls exhaled at once. The reset failed. Not because it was stopped, but because it had been outgrown. Evan opened his eyes slowly. The hatchling stood on his shoulder, now fully calm. The massive creatures above were no longer trapped. The restraints had gone dormant, overwritten. The facility was still standing. But it was no longer the same system. It was something new. A hybrid network of human machine and awakened biointelligence. Evan whispered, barely believing it. We changed it. The largest creature above lowered its head again, acknowledging him. Not prisoner. Not subject. But node. Then, deep inside the facility, far beyond visible levels, a new signal activated. Unknown. Not human. Not facility-born. A transmission began forming in deep space frequency bands. And as Evan looked at the tablet, one final line appeared on its screen. Second sequence detected, origin outside planetary system. The hatchling lifted its head toward the ceiling. Its glow flickered once. As if it had heard something calling back.